Nothing truly begins on the outside. Before prosperity appears in the physical world, it first takes shape within the mind. Before money, there is awareness. Before opportunity, there is an inner state that allows it. According to spiritual teachings, the mind is not passive. It is creative. It constantly influences how reality unfolds around us, even when we are not aware of it. When the mind is filled with fear, lack, or constant worry, life often feels heavy and restricted. Opportunities seem distant. Decisions feel harder, not because life is against us, but because perception becomes narrow. Prosperity, in its deeper sense, is not limited to financial success. It is clarity, inner stability, the ability to remain calm and open even when circumstances are uncertain. A prosperous mind does not deny challenges, but it also does not surrender to them. It observes, reflects, and chooses its response carefully. This inner choice is where true change begins. Repeated thoughts slowly become mental habits. Mental habits influence actions. Actions shape results. This is why prosperity is not created by wishing alone. It grows when thoughts, emotions, and actions move in the same direction. To cultivate a prosperous mind is not about control, but about awareness. Gently noticing what thoughts return again and again. Understanding which ones support growth and which ones quietly limit it. When this awareness deepens, something shifts naturally. The inner posture softens. Perception expands. Life begins to respond with greater flow. Pause for a moment. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Are they opening space or closing it? Sustainable prosperity always begins here, in the silent landscape of the mind. The difference between a scarcity mindset and a prosperous mindset. Scarcity is not always the result of external conditions. Often it begins as an internal pattern, a way of thinking that shapes how life is interpreted. A scarcity mindset focuses on what is missing. It compares, resists, and often feels that life is unfair. Even when opportunities appear, the mind may not recognize them because it has learned to expect limitation. A prosperous mindset works differently. It does not ignore difficulties, but it relates to them with openness. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" it asks, "What can this teach me?" This shift may seem subtle, but its effects are profound. The mind becomes less defensive, more curious, more willing to grow. A prosperous mindset understands that growth is a process. Mistakes are not failures, but feedback. Challenges are not punishments, but invitations to develop strength and clarity. Prosperity also grows through contribution. When a person focuses on offering value, through work, presence, or service, life often finds ways to respond in return. Notice how you meet difficulties, with resistance or with willingness to learn. There is no need for urgency. Mental patterns change gradually as awareness expands. And as the inner perspective shifts, the external experience often begins to reorganize as well. True scarcity is not a lack of resources. It is a lack of perceived possibilities. Prosperity grows when the mind learns to move with life rather than against it. There is a quiet moment in personal growth when something begins to shift. It is the moment we realize that, even if we cannot control everything that happens, we can choose how we relate to our experiences. Personal responsibility, in this sense, is not about blame or pressure. It is about awareness. It is the understanding that there is an inner space where choice exists. When all responsibility is placed on external circumstances, the mind feels small and powerless. Life seems unpredictable and overwhelming. This perception slowly weakens inner confidence. A different movement begins when responsibility is embraced with gentleness. The mind recognizes its influence over thoughts, attitudes, and decisions, not as control, but as participation in life. With this awareness, reactions soften. The need to resist fades. The person begins to respond instead of react. This creates emotional stability and a sense of grounded presence. Personal responsibility restores inner balance. It reminds us that while we may not choose every situation, we can always choose our inner posture. This inner shift strengthens clarity. Decisions become calmer. The sense of being a victim slowly dissolves, replaced by a quiet confidence. Prosperity flows more easily when responsibility is accepted without heaviness. Growth becomes possible when the mind stops waiting for life to change first. Pause and reflect gently. Do challenges close you or invite understanding? Responsibility, when embraced with awareness, becomes a source of inner freedom. And from that freedom, a more stable and prosperous life begins to unfold. Thoughts arise constantly, often unnoticed. They move through the mind quietly, shaping emotions, influencing choices, and guiding behavior. According to spiritual understanding, it is not occasional thoughts that shape life, but the ones we return to repeatedly. These patterns slowly form an internal environment that affects how we experience the world. When the mind is accustomed to doubt or fear, decisions tend to be cautious and defensive. Opportunities may exist, but the mind hesitates to engage with them. When thoughts become more conscious and balanced, something changes. The body relaxes. Choices feel clearer. Actions align more naturally with intention. This process does not require force or constant positivity. It begins with observation. Gently noticing recurring thoughts allows space for transformation. Thoughts influence emotions. Emotions guide actions. Actions create results. This sequence unfolds quietly, day by day. By caring for the quality of thoughts, the entire process begins to reorganize. Over time, new mental pathways form. Old limitations soften. The mind becomes more flexible and open to growth. Prosperity from this perspective is not sudden. It develops as the mind becomes more orderly, aware, and present. Observe your thoughts with kindness. Are they reinforcing trust or repeating old fears? Each conscious thought is a seed. With time and attention, these seeds grow into experiences that reflect greater balance, clarity, and expansion. Work occupies a significant place in human life. Beyond income, it is a form of inner expression. According to spiritual principles, the way we relate to our work deeply influences how prosperity unfolds. When work is experienced only as obligation or burden, the mind contracts. Fatigue increases and motivation fades. Prosperity, in this state, struggles to take root. A different experience emerges when work is seen as contribution. Even simple tasks gain meaning when approached with presence and care. Value begins to flow not from effort alone, but from intention. Prosperity often follows usefulness. When skills are developed and offered with sincerity, life responds in subtle and unexpected ways. Financial results become a reflection, not the sole objective. This does not mean that work must always be enjoyable. It means it can be approached consciously. Presence transforms effort into learning, and learning into growth. A prosperous mindset asks not only, what do I receive, but also, what do I offer? This shift creates a healthier relationship with work and progress. According to these teachings, prosperity grows when contribution and integrity guide action. When work aligns with inner values, stability and expansion follow naturally. Notice how you relate to your daily efforts. Is there resistance or quiet engagement? Small adjustments in attitude can change the entire experience of work. When contribution becomes the focus, opportunities begin to emerge with greater ease. Prosperity develops where value, care, and awareness meet. Observe how you respond when expectations are challenged. Does the mind close or remain receptive? By gently recognizing ego-driven reactions, space is created for expansion. And in that space, growth becomes possible. When awareness grows beyond the ego, life begins to flow with greater ease and harmony. Gratitude is a quiet inner movement that changes how the mind relates to life. It is not merely a positive emotion, but a state of awareness that gently reorganizes perception. When attention is fixed only on what is missing, the mind contracts. Life feels heavier and more limited. Gratitude widens the inner lens, allowing recognition of what already exists and what is gradually unfolding. Practicing gratitude does not require ignoring challenges. It simply means not allowing them to define the entire experience. Even within difficulty, there are elements that sustain, teach, or strengthen us. These teachings suggest that a grateful mind becomes more receptive. When appreciation is present, resistance softens. Life responds more fluidly, often in subtle and unexpected ways. Gratitude also dissolves comparison. As awareness returns to one's own path, the need to measure progress against others naturally fades. This brings emotional stability and inner calm. A grateful state of mind notices small details that often go unseen. Moments of clarity, support, and learning gain meaning. Over time, this awareness nurtures a sense of quiet abundance. Gratitude can be understood as a form of inner intelligence. It trains the mind to recognize fullness before seeking more. Pause gently for a moment. Bring attention to something simple that supports your life today. Breathe. Acknowledge. This subtle recognition adjusts the inner frequency. And when the inner state changes, the outer experience often follows. Gratitude does not require effort. It requires presence. Where presence exists, growth and abundance find space to emerge naturally.